You're a failure.
And that's okay. Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm Alicia.
And
And we're
we're
failures
failures
too.
too. We take a walk back through people's failures and relive the mistakes they made so we all can have more clarity in how to be a better human. Hello and welcome to yet another transitory episode of the 2020 Perspective. I'm one of your co-hosts for today's conversation. My name's Dan, and I run Learn to Scale, and I am joined by my co-host, Alicia. Alicia, what's up, girl?
Hey, everyone. Welcome to the 2020 Perspective Live podcast. My name is Alicia Engel, and I'm also a co-host of the 2020 Perspective, a podcast where we talk to people about their stories of failure and what they learned from their experience or how their life has changed, how their perspective is shifted from their juicy failure.
Yeah, failure's so much fun. It's so much more fun to talk about failure than success, isn't it? Isn't it?
It really is. I mean, we thrive off of failure.
Yeah, you learn something out of it. It like makes you into a person.
It makes you more interesting. I will say that. If you don't have failures, then you're probably not trying hard enough. You're playing it safe.
Is that your way of saying that our listeners may be boring?
No, because they're listening because they're probably failing too.
Okay, all right. Well, if you're failing to, welcome to the 2020 Perspective. We have hot chocolate. So, Alicia, let's warm up a little bit. Let's get into our failure mode. Let's talk a little rosebud thorn. Rose, something good. Bud, something you're looking forward to. And thorn, something not so good. You got any rosebud thorns going on in your life?
Oh, boy, do I. Okay, so Rose, I had 3 speaking engagements this month. It's in September. We're in September. So one was live, which was incredibly engaging, and it just lifted my whole entire life. It was so great. And then 2 virtual, which were also wonderful as well. And it was around the same topic, the Re3 model, which is that framework that I use to help people navigate their manage their negative thoughts and emotions. It was fun. Such a great time. My bud is, this is a good one. I have made the decision after weeks and weeks of deliberating to work with a small team called the Ripple Impact to help me build my personal business.
You're doing it. You're doing it.
I pulled the trigger. I am so excited. I cannot tell you the relief that I feel about making the decision to move forward. And it feels really good. It was a big decision. So that's my bud. Looking forward to what's to come of Leash Dog LLC.
Leash Dog Unleashed.
Yeah, Leash Dog Unleashed. And then my thorn, I don't have too many thorns right now, except for Excel. Like I've spent way too much time in Excel more than I would like
your thorn.
to. Yeah, Excel is my thorn. I like Excel, but not when I'm in it for like 8 hours a day. Yeah. Okay. What about you?
So my thorn is that I just have not been getting super great sleep, which I don't understand why, because it's getting cooler here in Boston. But I like wake up like sweat drenched. I'm like one of those like sleep sweaters. And during the summer, I wasn't sweaty at all. So I have no idea why now it's getting cooler. Our bodies are weird. Rose, I had a fantastic conversation with someone today for the very first time, and he decided to buy my set of services on one phone call. And I am overjoyed. I'm on cloud nine. And so then my bud is obviously onboarding him and getting him set up with our lead generation services. But also I ordered fried chicken to celebrate. So I got some fried chicken showing up in an hour and a half. So it is going to be delicious house here.
Quite a bud. Fried chicken is a bud.
Yes.
I like that.
My body may regret it, but my soul will feel nourished.
Ooh, I like that.
So let's talk about our guest today. Let's talk about, and this is a conversation that has been brewing for months. Like we have been talking with this individual for months because we wanted to bring them in earlier, and the schedule didn't work out, and there's a lot of things that came up, and we did this, blah, 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 blah. Anywho, today's the day. And what's amazing is that this individual that we're bringing on has experienced a lot of change. And I'm sure we're going to hear a little about some of the failures in there, but is an entrepreneur that right now is definitely figuring out how to move forward and make great new things, and especially in the creative world. And I can't wait to ask about the community that that our guest is a part of, and I'm sure we'll hear about that too. So let's welcome to the podcast, Neo Lau. Welcome to the podcast, Neo.
Thank you for having me, Dan and Alicia. That was quite the intro. That was quite the start off of this live, and I really enjoyed it. I really felt the energy, and congratulations to you both. I just loved the way you guys did it, and before bringing me on, so it's one of the most unique openers I've seen on a live on a podcast yet. Got to give it to you too.
Think I have a new rose. Just happened.
Wow. So
we're excited to talk to you. Thanks for being here.
Oh my gosh. Today. I know.
No, I'm super excited to be here.
Now, I mean, back when we were first talking, you were on a podcast which felt like our podcast. It was a plan to fail podcast, which originally was like, whew, we got to talk to this person. So before we get to who you are today, I want to hear how you became that podcast host of Plan to Fail.
Yeah, great question. Great opening question. I always feel like for me, this has been a journey. Well, it's always a lifelong journey, but I would say that it really intensified the last year and a half. To give everybody who's watching either live or watching the replay of this some context, I spent the last 4 years in the financial industry running my own practice. So very traditional industry. Everything I did was face to face, and it was good money. It was steady in money, but it wasn't anything exciting. And I remember the first moment I realized that I knew that this industry wasn't for me for the long run was when one of my mentors at that time told me that, now you just keep onboarding clients and this is how it is. And I was like, what, maybe 24, 23 at that time. And I'm like, wait, so I'm just going to keep doing the same thing over and over again until I have enough money to retire. And then like, is this what running a business really is? But at that time I just didn't have that confidence to leave that industry and like fully, I guess, jump into entrepreneurship. Right. Because it's one thing trying to sell investments, insurance, which is technically another company's products, than to go full out and like create a service or a product completely out of your own and like and try and live off of it. So I ended up spending 2 more years in that industry. And I always say that everything happens for a reason. And if you're not willing to make a shift, the universe is going to come and like pretty much slap you across the face and make sure you change. And that's what COVID was for me, as I know for a lot of people, where like I said earlier, I did my business face to face. So when that happened, I was very traditional, face to face networking. I didn't even realize for the 4 years I thought I was running my business in finance. I didn't even know like a marketing. It was like literally brute force networking and just connecting with so many people. And I look back, I'm like, I don't know how I did it. I don't think I could ever put that amount of time into it again, but I'm glad I did. But what I'm trying to get at is when COVID happened, everything changed. I wasn't making the money that I used to be making, and I didn't see myself bringing the business online. I just didn't have that passion to try and like transition it. So instead, I decided to leave that industry. And I left that industry without a plan. I still had a car lease. I was at the end of on the lease on my apartment before I actually had to move back into my parents' basement because of that financial situation. So I remember leaving everything behind, and I'm like, I have no idea. I had a line of credit, I had some savings left, but I had no idea when that next paycheck was gonna come in, where I was gonna go. But I was just gonna do something online. I think that was like my calling was like, I just want to do something online. So
something online.
Drop ship.
Right.
I tried
Anything
drop
online.
shipping. Yeah, I tried drop shipping and thinking that, it shouldn't be that hard just to make like $1,000 or a couple $1,000s a month just to keep me going as I figure out this whole new world. Because
couple grand a month, no big deal.
No big deal, just a couple grand. And all the drop shippers, they make it sound so easy. And thank God I had a business partner with me And we worked really well because she was definitely more of the creative side and I was definitely more of the strategic side. So right brain, left brain, and we worked really well together. And you want to talk about failure? That we spent, I believe, 3 months, probably $4,000 into ad spend in that e-commerce store, trying to sell these little enamel bracelet charms, like Pandora, but we were trying to source enamel charms. And we were trying to build a brand, like a lot of e-com is about like just product first, but we were trying to build a brand around it with the lack of knowledge. And we just didn't have the bandwidth to make it work. So it's something that, like, I remember that was the first thing we had to let go in this journey after leaving and sinking $4 more grand into this business and trying to advertise and get people to buy your things, and knowing that you're spending it in like you're spending money that you don't have because there's no income coming in. So spent about a couple months doing that. And how I became the person that started that Plan to Fail podcast was what I did afterwards. Was after that failure, after I realized that e-com wasn't my thing, I realized I had to learn more. And the scary thing about learning is that obviously, in order to get any type of learning, either be a course or coaching, you're gonna have to invest further. So what I ended up doing, my business partner I ended up doing, was without any income and on our savings and on I guess credits, we committed $3,000 a month for the next 10 months into a coaching program with Russell Brunson, who's the founder of ClickFunnels. So we were really trying to dive into the whole sales funnels model. And the thing about that decision was it was the best decision of my life. Obviously, like, still one of the craziest, because I stayed in that program for 10 months and was absolutely necessary for me to lean into that. But I pretty much put $30,000 down and over the course of 10 months without a promise of any return of it. But that was the reason I started the podcast, because now I'm committing $3,000 a month into a program like this. The first thing was to build an audience, like just traditional, like organic way of marketing before all these paid ads, was to build an audience, start publishing, provide value, and whoever resonates with you, they're going to start following you and wanting to like work with you. So that's where I started the podcast. And it came at a time where I also was in a huge identity shift. And when I left finance, what I didn't initially realize was the effect it would have on my confidence. I didn't know how much, like a lot of people in this world, a lot of my friends, that we tie our self-worth, we tie our identities to what we do. So when I left, that was the hardest part of starting a podcast, because I now had to like share about, I didn't know who I was and I was supposed to put myself out there. But through that process was how I started building my self-confidence the right way, is like by putting myself through those failures of like putting yourself out there and doing it. Because as you earn more self-respect, the self-confidence will come. I think the whole self-confidence piece, a lot of people get it wrong, where like, I just need to believe in myself and I'm going to be confident. And what ends up happening is people end up being arrogant or cocky and people just hate you. But like for me, like I think this process, what really taught me and what I really want whoever's listening to take away, is that the process of doing the hard things, which includes failing, is what will help you earn self-respect for yourself. And that self-respect is what is the key to having true, authentic self-confidence, if that makes sense. And this came from, because I thought that I had the car, I had the nice apartment, I had this and that. I made the money when I was in finance, but I knew deep inside, like I needed all these things because I was still insecure of who I was. I needed that to be a projection of what I wanted people to think I was, right? And it needed that shift in my life, that jump, before I realized that how to authentically build it. And when I first started down that journey, when I left finance, I didn't think or realize that this is what I was going to take away from that. And even during that time when I was publishing with that podcast or any of that stuff, I didn't think I was going to learn that. Everything always happens in hindsight, but you just got to put yourself through that situation first without attaching yourself to the outcome. And that's, I think, where a lot of people trip up, is their attachment to the outcome.
Yeah.
2020 perspective.
This is good stuff. I love the idea that, because we always talk about how self-awareness is built through reflection and thinking deeply about your failures or your mishaps, or writing out your thoughts and coming up with patterns and whatnot. But I I really like what you said about self-respect. Like self-respect equals confidence, and you have to learn to trust yourself. And that you some people just don't trust themselves. That takes time and takes work and takes a bunch of falling down on your face and picking yourself back up and saying, okay, I trust that if I fall on flat on my face again, I'm going to be able to pick myself up. It's going to suck, but I trust that I can do it. And that takes a lot of time. It takes some falling down and doing it. Wait, I want to go back to what you said about Russell Brunson, because my dad preaches Russell Brunson. Like he has sent me the workbook and like a recording and got me to sign up for this like 30-day funnel challenge and all that. So I want to know, where are you in that 10 months and was it worth it?
Ooh, that's a great question. I mean, this is where only recently I really learned the importance of context. And I think that the context, it really depends on, and this is where perspective, 2020 perspective, where your perspective really, really matters on how you look at it. Because I mean, if you look at it from a very logical and a very surface level standpoint, the purpose of that program was in 1 year, they were supposed to help you build an audience, build a service or product or whatever, and be able to build a funnel that generated $1 million. That is the sole mission of that that program. So from that standpoint of making, from a monetary standpoint, there was a complete failure, right? Like 30 grand, I barely scratched. I don't even think I made like a fraction of that back, like at least yet. I'm gonna offer yet. I think that is a very big emphasis on it because everything I'm learning has helped me get to where I am today, but not from a monetary standpoint, it hasn't gotten me the result. However, it's connected me to two of the most important people that allowed me to go down this journey. One being one of my current business partners is in Australia, and they were one of the speakers at the summit that I hosted because it was part of the curriculum of that program.
Wait, you hosted a summit as part of this program?
Yes, I got 32 speakers in 3 months, and I pre-recorded everything. It wasn't a live summit, but I put a summit together, in 3 months during that course of that program.
Okay, all right.
And that summit is connected me to one of my business partners, in which we're still working today, and this is where a lot of my income is coming from, is that connection right now. And in the Create community, the founder of the Create community was actually a speaker at that summit as well. And it was actually, his content, his belief, his, I guess, perspective that has helped me. And this is why I'm such a big advocate for the Create community, which we'll talk a little bit later, but because it's shifted the way I view life a lot, I view business a lot. So it's interesting you bring up Russell Brunson and what I view it in that, like how my perspective on that is. I honestly think that sales funnels is a great tool. Would I invest the amount of money I did to learn what I know again? Probably not. But at the same time, I know that in an age that is in the digital age where everything is becoming more increasingly noisy, it is necessary for a business to survive. It is through funnels so that they can stay competitive. However, I can't say it's the most important thing to focus on as you're starting a business. Like anything, I know it sounds cliche, but I know you two will understand, like mindset, yourself, your clarity, your vision, your identity. Like, what do you want to build out? That is more important. I feel like if anything, this last 10 months to a year of entrepreneurship has gotten me to explore further, because there's so much out there that I didn't know, and that's the exciting part, but that's also the scary part. So it's really important for you to know what you're really aiming for, because so many people end up starting a business, and even if you start up like a simple drop shipping e-com business selling, I don't know, like water bottles, there's still customer service. That is still like your reality, right? So instead of like seeing your investment of like how much money I'm going to make, it's like, look at it as, what is your energetic investment to it? How does that, like, what is that when you work on your business? Is it going to bring back the same energy so that you can keep going? Because learning how to like like, I guess, regulate your energy levels so that you can work more efficiently, more effectively, with more passion, with more energy. I feel like that is more important than any marketing, sales, or tips. And I think that, like, this is really where I want my message to be, is for people to focus, go inward and focus on themselves, because a lot of the times it's small perspective shifts that lead to the biggest changes in your life, because it's happened to me time after time.
I love talking to entrepreneurs because I love this. I love this stuff. This gets me all jazzed up. So I want to talk about mindset.
Yeah.
Alicia and I, we are very much like in that kind of like learning is good, failure is good space. So we're already like drinking the growth mindset Kool-Aid. And in the entrepreneurship world, I think there's I'm just going to cut straight to the question. Can you fail with your mindset? So can you have a failed mindset and be an entrepreneur?
Ooh. Can you be a little, what do you mean by failed mindset?
Okay, so
do you want me to come up with my definition, or did you want me to play around?
I'm gonna tell you some hot takes from Dan's perspective.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of coaches, service providers out there that proclaim to help entrepreneurs or people wanting to start a business with their mindset, to get them into a place so that they have the mental fortitude, the grit to persevere through failure, and that's going to set them up for success and hooray. However, I think there's a real majesty in doing things and doing entrepreneurship and failing at that, because that's where your entrepreneurship actually starts to grow. Your skills actually start to grow. And maybe that failed e-commerce business was best to have early on versus, would you start day one saying, gee, I need to get my mindset polished before starting entrepreneurship?
Okay. No, I see where you're coming from now. No, I think it's the first step is to just get started. I think too often than not, the thing that stops us the most is that we don't get started because we think that it has to happen a certain way. It's kind of funny that it happens in business. This is like, I've been, the last few years of my experience, I've been very business savvy, but something I've been trying to unlock, for example, is my creativity. And I think that a lot of people don't see business as a creative outlet, right? Most people see creativity as, oh, I can draw, I can make music, I can dance, I can sing. But if you think about business and the innovation that happens behind business, right? It is creativity. And one thing I've learned in the process of me unlocking my creativity, because something I've been wanting to get into is music. So I've been trying to shift my way to more of the right brain creative side, right? But it's the same thing for anybody who might not be as business savvy or might not be as entrepreneur to adapt is to really redefine what that failure means initially. And I think that this is where most people get tripped up, is before we even get started, like, why don't we just go inward and ask, what is a failure? What defines as a failure? Because what society has taught us as a failure is like, oh, it didn't make me money, or oh, I didn't get that letter grade, or it didn't get the result that I wanted. And I think that for me is the only way for you to fail is if you never take action. Because a lot of the times, and it goes back to like me bringing up the idea of detaching yourself from the outcome. We also like the power, like set the intention, right? If let's just say you want to start a business, and you want to start, like, for example, let's just say a pet grooming business, because you have this passion just to want to work with pets, right? Set the intention of what you want it to become, but detach yourself from what the outcome has to be. Because the more we attach ourselves to an outcome, the more limited we see, because we're so married to the idea of what our business or what success or what has to look like, that we actually block out the other opportunities that are actually in front of us, but we're just not aware of it because we're so focused on what we want. So a lot of the times when I say failure is like, let's just say the ecom business didn't work out. I don't really see it as a failure, because it's like, I needed that failure for me to commit and to know that I needed that coaching program. I needed that coaching program for me to meet the people I needed to meet for me to be on that path I am today. So it's like, it's always about taking a step back and like, get out of your head, get out of that moment, and know that like your lifetime is probably going to be 100+ years with modern technology nowadays, and that a lot of what you're learning today you will not understand. So just take it as everything in life is happening for you. I know this sounds very, very cliche, and truly believe that, because once you frame it a certain way, everything else that comes to you, no matter good or bad, you're gonna start seeing it as like, what the heck can I learn from it? Instead of being like, why the heck is this happening to me? You're gonna start looking at through the lens of like, okay, this didn't work out. Like, what the heck do I have to learn? How can I optimize it? Because the more you focus on what you can fix in that moment, the more present you are, the more you're going to be able to fix, right? The more you're going to be able to move faster, because you're actually optimizing the things that need working on. But so often we are trapped living in our heads in the future that we're not even present enough to see what's actually in front of us, right? And for people who are struggling with this is all from personal experience. Too often I sit there, I'm like thinking about what's going to happen like 5 years down the line, and I'm not working on my website because I'm thinking about like the potential like issues I might have 5 years down the line. But like, you don't even know where they're going to happen, right? So you just got to do it. And it's all about trial and error. If you're not failing, that means you're not trying something new. If you're not trying something new, that means you're not stagnant. So if you're stagnant, that means you're not growing. If you're not growing, then you're dying. If you're not growing, you're dying. So,
so
that's how I like to put it.
If you're not failing, you're dead. Wait, so I love what you said. I say the same thing that you're saying in a different way whenever something bad happens, or a failure, or maybe not bad, but like something that's not aligned with what you want to happen. I always say, or tell people, coach people to say, how is this happening for you? Not like, why is this happening to me, or why is this happening? Say, ask yourself, how is this happening for you? And force yourself to come up with like at least 3 reasons why. And like what you said, I liked how you did this visual with like a narrow focus. It like immediately opens up your options to look outside of this lens that you're just so narrowly focused on, and broaden that a lot more. Wait, so I have a question for you. We are talking a lot about obviously failure and not being tied to the outcome of success, not being tied to it, but still having in mind what a hopeful outcome is. So I'm curious to know from you, what does success look like for Neo, for you? What does that look like?
So when it comes to that's a really interesting question. And I think most people will kind of go with like, success will look for X million dollars, or like a certain lifestyle. And for me, I kind of split it up into 2 areas. Like, I have a vision of what success looks like for me. And at the same time, even though I have that vision, the one I follow is, do I feel at peace? Do I feel aligned with where I'm going? Because a lot of the times I might feel like I really want this, but there's a million and one things that I don't know that are out there that I might possibly want. So if I'm doing something, and or I'm working for somebody, or I'm partnered up with somebody with a new business venture, if it doesn't feel right, if I get anxiety from it, and these are the things that like I start noticing, things that a lot of people, including me in the past, that we would not, and this is most people don't feel, and I use that as the compass on like which direction I really need to be going, because it doesn't matter how much money I have, it doesn't matter how like where I am, like what my lifestyle is, if I can't be at peace even with myself, right? So like, I think the way of it is to be like, in every life is supposed to be lived in every present moment. If you cannot be present in your life, that means you're not living your life the right way, and that there's probably something that you're trying to run away from in your day-to-day life.
Ooh, interesting. So what I'm hearing is that there's some kind of success barometer that you're checking in with on a regular basis, that it feels right, that aligns well. And tactically speaking, like, how do you do that? Like, how do you check yourself before you wreck yourself?
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of the times it's like spaciousness. And when I say spaciousness, is like, I think especially talking to entrepreneurs in this whole hustle and grind like culture, how I calibrate is like, I take the time, and like, this is where like meditation actually happens, or journaling. I've been actually sharing with a lot of people that it took, and a lot of people don't laugh at journaling, and that was me included, right? It took me actually 10 months and 3 journals later for me to actually what I call unlock my journaling, where like I don't have to think about each word I need to write, right? It comes from the heart. It comes from feeling of like what's actually like I'm still quite new to it. So like I can't really per se like be the best person to describe it. But it's about what I'm trying to get at. It's really about giving yourself the space to feel, right? To feel if you're going in that right direction. Like, do you feel excited? Right. I know, Alicia, you said you just started your business. It's official. It's a thing. Right. And you're excited for it. So you know that this is a direction you want to go in. You have no idea which direction it might potentially lead or the opportunities are. We have an idea of how we want to build it out, but we actually don't know what is actually going to happen and not. And I think that the more we are detached from that, that's how I navigate it. And to be able to detach, you have to be, like, I wouldn't just say patience, but just you have to be present in your body and just give yourself the space to actually ask yourself, right? Is this the right direction? Have the courage to be honest with that answer too, because maybe it is not, and it's not the answer you want to hear, but it's about trusting that feeling. And a lot of the people are like, how do you trust that feeling? It's like having a relationship with yourself, right? When you're feeling, especially when you're trying to tune in back with your feelings. And it's about the more you do it, the more you're going to understand it. It's like, any relationship, the more you interact with yourself, the more you listen, you give yourself the space to think and respond to yourself, and acknowledge the emotions, the more you're going to get to know yourself better. And then the clearer you are to doing that.
Yes.
And I know how hard it is. I'm going to add to this because this is something that I haven't done up until like this year. And this is why I know I needed to shift in finance, because I spent so much of my time when I wasn't working, numbing myself, right? And just like trying to keep myself busy. I was never present. So this, even for me, it's only been a thing like this past year.
I mean, I'm there with you both now, and I think back. I mean, when you're talking about, it takes a lot of journaling to realize that you're journaling. When I first went to school, I studied music composition, and the muscles to take ideas and thoughts and emotions and put it into notes onto a page, voiced through some kind of instrument or human voice, like that whole muscle situation is the craft of composing. And I think what's underappreciated in today's society is the ability to do that just for your own like life, and just be able to say like, there are thoughts and feelings and all sorts of like googly things up in my dome piece. And somehow that has to either come out and verbalize it. It has to be raised to my awareness. And if I'm doing something, I need to apply those things through that thing. There's muscles there. There's like, it's practice.
It is. It definitely is. And it's something that I just really want to give like the audience or whoever's watching perspective. Like I was completely opposite. A year ago today, I was like, having anxiety attack, panic attacks. Like, so it's definitely possible. And it's about like trusting yourself. Right. And we talk about trusting yourself is doing the things that are hard. And I think that the first thing everybody should do is reframe what failure means to you. I'm all about like just empowering other people to live by their beliefs. I hate when people project stuff. So I'm not going to tell people to see it or live life a certain way. Right. But like, for me, what's worked is like, I don't see failure traditionally, like what society does, right? When things don't work out according to me, that could be the best thing that's ever happened to me. Right. That ecom business not working out with the trends, that was the best thing that's happened to me. That summit made me no money, but that was the best thing that's happened to me. And throughout this process of everything not working out, I realized that I actually don't really like business, right? Business is not my thing. And I actually really want to get into music. I want to learn how to produce and DJ and actually perform. And this, like this is a year ago, I wouldn't even have thought about this, right? But it was going through business after business and realizing this actually doesn't wake me up in the morning. Like I hate sales copy. Like I don't like I'm not the biggest fan of marketing. I love the art of marketing, but like, do I really want to be looking at social media day in and day out? I'm like, it's really not my thing. Do I want to go on Instagram Live every day and like project myself onto people? Like, not really. Like, and it's not saying that's anything wrong with anybody else doing it. I'm just saying it just isn't for me. And I was only able to find out because I went through this process of self-discovery. And I think too many people are so scared of failure. They don't allow themselves, they don't give permission themselves to try new things. I mean, and I think that like for me, this has been music. It's been the thing that I'm like, oh, I really want to do it, but I know I'm going to sound terrible. And it's like, you really face your demons. You really face who you are when you go through those trials and tribulations. And it's when you go through those moments is when you learn about yourself the most. So I encourage everybody to like reframe it. I think once you start seeing failure in a different way, everything really shifts, but you have to truly believe in it. You can't lie to yourself. You like, so, but once you're able to like keep reminding yourself until you fully embody it, I think that's my greatest takeaway for everybody.
I think it's hard when to shift and be like scared of, excuse me, let me start over. It's hard to step out of what's comfortable or what you've been doing, even if it's your body is telling you this isn't, I'm not aligned, or I'm not in the flow, or I'm not enjoying this. Like when you were in business, I think for a lot of people, yes, I think that failure part is scary, but there's so much that's attached with that. I think as we get more ingrained with acquiring assets and having families, and you have a mortgage and you have like 2 mouths to feed, and it just becomes harder to say like, this sucks, but I'm going to totally uproot everything and try something different and start over. I think we get so locked in. Why do we do that to ourselves as humans? Why do we get so locked in and we collect and acquire things that and responsibilities that now like keep us locked into, our corporate jobs that we hate, or a role that you despise, or working for an organization that you're not aligned with the values. And you're like, why do we do that to ourselves?
Yeah, that's a deep question. that's definitely a deep one. I like it. I love it. I love deep questions. I think that like growing up, it's like there's always this pressure to be responsible, to be an adult. And I'm gonna preface this whole statement by saying that I recognize how privileged I am to be born, not even just in a developed country, but in this time in history. Like I can't imagine if I was born in the medieval ages or like the dark ages or any of those ages. I'm like, holy crap, right? I think that this is something that at least my peers or people around like my age, like we take for granted day in and day out. So I'm going to preface this by saying that, like, of course, life isn't fair, and we all get dealt a certain like our different cards, right? And like, so like, I think for me, it's we do this because we like there's certain responsibilities we grow up into, and society teaches us, in order to be successful, you need X, you need to get married, especially I know for women, you have to have kids a certain age. I know guys are maybe less of a societal pressure on that end, but like there are all these societal pressures and all these norms and that we live by that we never really question. And I think that's something that I'm paraphrasing this quote, but this quote really opened my eyes, was that we are born into a society that we never got a choice to be placed in, and we never question any of the values, right? And it could go as like surface level or as deep as it can go. Like, but if you think about it, everything that we believe in, everything around us is a social construct. Our economy is a social construct. You know what I mean? Like everything, like our relationships are social construct. I mean, everything that we know that is our truth is a social construct. And I think that like a lot of us, we end up going through our whole lives following that, and we all get like what I call like the awakening at some point, where I'm like, okay, is this the life I want to live? And like, and there's no judgment, right? There's no judgment. Like it might be for you, but like we all go through this 9 to 5, let's become CEO, or let's climb the corporate ladder, American dream, like whatever it might be. Different cultures will have different projections of what success is. So we all adopt these versions of success. And when we get there, when we work our whole lives there, going to school, becoming a lawyer, going to med school, becoming a doctor, and then we're there and we're like, holy shit, we're miserable. Like, I'm not happy. Like, but then you have the mortgage, you have the wife, you have the kids and the dog, and you're like, but this is not the life I wanted. And I think that like that's to answer your question, that's the reason why. But I think more importantly, what I want to add on top of that is like, because like I'm not here telling people who are in that stage that like, oh, you know, you're screwed, you know what I mean? Like you did it, you're kind of plugged into the matrix until now. And but I would say that the biggest takeaway from that is, if you like, wherever your awakening is, it could be when you're 14, or you could be when you're 60, or at your deathbed. Like, don't ever compare yourself to others. We're all on our separate journeys. And I think that what prevents people from further exploring the unknown, especially when they start seeing, well, like, I guess like the glitches in the matrix, they start seeing like, wait a minute, that's not what I want to do. But most people are like, well, but I'm at this age, it's too late for me. So they never end up exploring. But like, I think what Colonel Sanders, that made KFC, started KFC when he was like, what, 60? And I think that like too often, not, that's why I hate it when like I've had mentors in the past that I used to look up to that were like, oh, I'm too old for this. And like, that's like the one excuse that I hate, because like I've seen like people that are like seniors, like try to like get the real estate license, try to like push their boundaries. And like, I have so much respect for that. So for me, it's just like, I feel like why we do it is because like we are all raised a certain way, right? And like the thing, the takeaway of that is that like, don't be too hard on yourself that you lived somebody else's version of your, like somebody else's like version of life that you thought it was yours. And instead, like if it isn't, if you start feeling those feelings that it isn't feeling right or it isn't aligned, start like kind of leaning into it and seeing like, okay, why, right? And I think that that's what's gotten me the furthest in life, is my whole curiosity of always asking why, and relentlessly searching for that why. Because for me, deep inside, if I can't find that why, then like, you know, I mean, it will, like, I will go crazy. So I will do anything to do why I'm doing the things I do. And I think if anybody can adopt that, that will be their moral compass on like where they should be heading. Is like, why are you doing it, right? Is it for you, or is it for like the approval of my parents, or is it the approval of my friends, or to get this girl? Am I getting this car so I can cover up my insecurities? Am I giving this car so I can like flex on other people? So, you know what I mean? Like, so like it's about being radically honest with yourself. And once you're radically honest with yourself, and that's a whole new rabbit hole I can go into, like all these things I know make it sound simple. And this is why like shifts in your life can be very simple. Most of the biggest shifts in my life has been very, very simple. But they have been the hardest shifts in my life, because we have something called emotions and pride and ego. And that's what it makes this whole game fun.
Well, speaking about awakenings, one of the things that what you mentioned already that I want to dive into a little bit more is this community that you became a part of. One, what is said community? Two, is this a place where awakenings happen?
Yeah. So the Create community is an online, I would just say personal development community, and personal development in a sense where we keep it's a community where we keep each other accountable, and it's like a safe space for you to lean into those edges of discomfort. So with the Create community, it's been literally what I've been calling my soul family, where it's like it's like people that I've never met, people so genuine, people that like complete strangers that I've met like 2 months ago that actually genuinely love on each other, right? And I think that I'm going to preface this by even saying that I'm not even the founder. I have no monetary gain in promoting this community. It just helped me so much, because the big thing it's really taught me is the act of self-love, or how to love myself more. And I think that since this is where I want to wrap it up, where we're like, I think this is very key when it comes to failures, because a lot of what our fear of failure comes from a lack of self-love, because we feel insecure, and insecurity comes from feeling like you're not enough, and you're not, and a lot of that not enough comes from comparing yourself to others, right? And this was me like pretty much throughout my whole childhood. Is like I always felt like I had to compare myself to others, and it's because of that lack of self-love. And to go a level deeper than that, it's like, this is where I'm like, but what is self-love, right? And I think that for most of my life, I grew up in a Christian background, and so like some of these things aren't per se like foreign to me, but at the same time, it's never been broken down to me to that self-love isn't about just getting yourself nice things or going for that manicure or treating yourself right. It's really about developing a relationship with yourself. And like any relationship, it's going to take time, and and it's about doing the things that you don't want to do, right? It's about like maybe like going out and going for a facial, or maybe like doing the laundry, or doing, or taking yourself out. But it's about like taking the time to see what you need. And once you're able to take care of yourself first, and develop that intimate relationship with yourself, then like we brought up, like I think a huge theme of this whole conversation up until now has been about uh, uh, maintaining like positive energy in approaching pretty much anything in life, right? So I think that it is such a key where most people overlook it, but at the end of the day, it's like all the output comes from you. If you're not even good yourself, then it is very hard for you, whatever you do, to really manifest itself. So I would say for me, like this community has really helped me to see things in a different perspective. Like I don't think I've shifted the way I've shifted. The community is free. There is a paid membership like aspect to it, where it's like master classes and coaching. But I always say, as valuable as that content is, the most valuable part of the community is the community, because those are the people that keep you accountable. And I think that even bring, like as you brought up earlier, saying that like how do people shift? And it is by having community, because community is medicine. Community is healing. Community is what is going to keep you accountable so that you can push, right? And I think that in the game of entrepreneurship, too often than not, we isolate ourselves, and this is me included, where I'm like, I will hang out with people when I'm successful. But it's like, it's never going to be like that. You're going to need people to be successful, because if you don't lean into the people around you, you're never going to see that success. So this is why I'm not saying this community is for everybody, but if for people who, like shifting to perspective, like looking into things that might be going against the grain, right? Might make you feel uncomfortable. And I think that this is the place for you, because we ask some crazy ass questions surrounding either business, creativity, self-expression, relationships, and sexuality. So it's like an all-encompassing community where we bring our version of our beliefs with us, and we share with one another to see how we can grow with one another.
That's awesome. I might get myself a little access to the Create community, because, Dan and I have talked about that a lot on the podcast. We've collected themes over all of our discussions. And one of the key factors of people, of their success through failure, is having support, having community, and using that to help them get through whatever the experience was, in order to have that 2020 perspective, to see their situation as a learning or growth opportunity. So I say spread the love.
Yeah, definitely. I think Dan has a link to that. And every month we have 2 free events actually that happen in the community. One of them is what we call an open mic, and it's basically people sign up and just perform. It's like it's a Zoom call where people just express their poetry. We have like gloving, like at festivals, we have like all sorts of expression. It could be just a rant, right? It could be an instrument. So every month, on a Monday, I can once you sign up to the Mighty Networks, I know Dan has signed up for an account already. There's actually an events tab, and you'll see all our free events there. So once a month we have open mic where people just come and perform. So you can just like hop into that Zoom call with everybody else and just watch people perform. That happens once a month. And what also happens is what we call house party. And that's basically our monthly networking, where we go into breakout rooms, and there's always a theme, and everybody just kind of talks about like the different things that common theme that we talk about, just to kind of get to know each other better. So those are the free events that we put together. We also have a Facebook community outside of the Mighty Networks as well, but it's a growing community. I think I recently just joined this community. It's only been around since the pandemic happened, because it was started because of all the chaos because of the pandemic, to gather as people, to kind of, it was to be this place where people can gather. So it's I think even for this show, you might even find some people that'd be really interesting guests to be here, because I've been opened up to so many different aspects of life as well. Closer to like astrology, numerology, so more to like that side of life as well. There are a lot of people are in that side of community, so it's been a perspective opener, because that's something that I've never really dabbled in before. But just kind of learning what's out there has been really cool.
Sounds so bohemian. I'm so
awesome.
into that. So into it.
Yeah, we love crystals and like and stuff like that. So it's interesting. I was like, it's so funny. I never thought that I would become a hippie. I would say it's so funny, but like here I am. It's like I'm all about meditating and crystals and all that stuff. But that community just helped me a lot. And again, like I said, it's probably not for everybody, but I know that there are people out there that can benefit as much as I have from it.
That's awesome.
I can think of people right off the top of my head that would love this. They might self-identify as woo-woo adjacent, so or woo-woo curious. Is that you, Alicia?
I'm woo adjacent.
Yeah, I think you guys would love the community. I mean, like it's like I've made so many like just connections from all over the world, and it's like it's also, I would say, with community too, I also learned in the process where back then I used to like join a community and sit back, but I actually took initiative, and I think that like I took initiative to be reaching out and like, hey, let's get to know each other. And I think that I do want to bring it up with people too, that like the onus is on both. It's for the community to create an environment for everybody to network and actually build like lifelong relationships, but it also has to come from you. And I think that like I've been a victim too many times too in communities where I'm like, oh, the community sucks, and like nobody reaches, but like I haven't really put myself in that place too. So what made it a difference for me was that I also reached out this time as well. So I can't shit on all the other communities out there that haven't worked out in the past. I also was a different person then, but you know, after investing my time into it, these people like I know are going to be lifelong friends, and people that when I do end up traveling, because that's a huge goal of mine, once everything kind of settles down a little bit more, then I'll have like contacts from different parts of the world. So that's a little small goal of mine on the background.
That's awesome.
That's good. There's a great student affairs theory by this guy named Aston that says the more that you put in, the more that a student puts in, the more that an individual puts in, the more they're going to get out of the experience. And sounds like you're a case study in that.
Yeah, exactly.
So for those of you who are listening, that's access.thecreatecommunity.com. You can go in and log in today. I joined. I'm excited to pop in, and I have a few friends I'm going to bring in, including my woo-woo adjacent co-host, Alicia.
Yeah, I want to get up in there.
Yeah. I don't know that I have both of you on Facebook, but I'll definitely invite you guys to the Facebook, or I'll email you the link to the Facebook community as well. The Mighty Networks is very, very good right now. Again, it's still like quite a new community. So the Mighty Networks is where the events are right now. But the Facebook is where like most people post and most engagement are. I go live from time to time. So once you're in that Facebook community, you might even see me live here and there. So I think it's something that I've been trying to encourage people to do, because like the power in the community is a community. I think that's something that really stuck with me when I first joined it, is them believing in that. It's just like, it's true. It's like, there's nothing special with the community, but the people in it. So that's why I promote it. That's why I'm present. This is why I want to bring more people in it, because I can see it helping more people, but it's only going to happen if we bring the right people in that align with that vision. Because, you know what I mean? I want people that are equally as excited in it as I am, right? And I, like I said, I remember, like I'm gonna say it many more times, it's not for everybody, but like my goal is just to bring the right people, not everybody. But if that is you, I highly encourage you. It's a free community. It's literally changed my life. To give you perspective, I was telling everybody how I spent 30 grand in 10 months of coaching on sales funnels. This community, like I said, has a paid membership aspect to it, where we do group coaching, and there's this the paid members all like go through classes every Wednesday together. And I believe 1 month, 6 months of this membership is $497. And I'm not here trying to sell anybody. I just want to give people the numbers so that they understand. It's $479 for 6 months worth of like the paid membership here. And that's $479 has gotten me more value than the 30 grand combined in that 10 months. I'm going to say that I'm not here to sell anybody. Everybody's at a different place. But
it works for you, and you're getting value out of it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. And I truly believe that. And this is where like I can unapologetically like share it of the value of it. But like, hey, just come and join the free stuff first, right? Come and get to know the people. Come to open mic and see what other people's self-expression is, so that you can unlock your very own self-expression. and come and get to know the community, because I think, especially in a time like this where there's still lockdowns, there's still so much division. I wouldn't say just lockdown, just division, with the passports, like with the vaccine, for on either side, right? I mean, like I'm a very neutral in everything, but like I see so much division where like if there's a space where we can bring people together, no matter where you stand on whatever side, right? That we can all be together and we could all like see each other as human beings first and friends first, and respect each other no matter what the choices are, right? Because at the end of the day, right, all we want is safety. All we want is to feel safe, to feel loved, to feel heard and feel seen, right? And if we're able to, and only when we feel like we're loved, seen, and heard is when we're able to kind of help other people get there too. So that's what this community is all about, is to help people feel seen, heard, and loved. And would love to, for every one of you to be part of it.
Thanks to No BS Brass Band for the bangin' show music. Check them out at nobsbrass.com. And if you want to join any of our live shows, follow us on Facebook at the 2020 Perspective. That's 20/20 Perspective. As always, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast player so you can get the latest failures delivered right to your ears. And may your failures be spectacular.